Good morning, and welcome to the First Existentialist Congregation of Atlanta. We are a philosophically based spiritual community founded on existential philosophy and grounded in feminist principles and dedicated to human liberation and the protection of the natural world. My name is Patton White, and I am facilitating this morning's celebration of life. We make our spiritual home in the Old Stone Church, which was hand-built 100 years ago by the African-American Antioch East Baptist Church. We honor their labors of love and the powerful history of this special place. We acknowledge that our spiritual home stands on land forcibly taken from the Muskogee Creek people. We support justice and equality for all indigenous people. Our opening words are a few quotations about the new year, beginning a new year. Excuse me. The first one is by Robin Sharma, and Robin says, "Don't live the same 75 times and call it a life." Don't live the same year 75 times and call it a life. The first step towards getting somewhere is to decide you're not going to stay where you are. So said J.P. Morgan. Tomorrow is the first blank page of a 365-page book. Write a good one, says Brad Paisley. New year, a new chapter. New verse, or just the same old story. Ultimately, we write it. The choice is ours, says Alex Morit. And now we welcome the new year, full of things that have never been, says Rainier Maria Rilke. So many existentialist points of view there, in my opinion. Anyway. Moving on, we're going to start this morning with a familiar tune, This Little Light of Mine. So please join me in singing this by Rising in Body or Spirit as we hear Mick Kinney, Robert Stewart, and Gene Heinrich sing and play this very familiar tune.
Okay, we're going to shine. Excellent, excellent music.
Thank you so much, musicians. We always love that one. Today's speaker is our fellowship minister, the Reverend Marsha Mitchiner. Reverend Marsha Mitchiner was ordained by us, the First Existentialist Congregation, after several years of study with founding minister R. Lanier Clance. Today she is part of the connective tissue of our congregation, holding together disparate elements, reaching out to folks whom we haven't heard from recently, and comforting those who need support. She plays in the dirt whenever she can, refreshes herself with her partner on trips to the Georgia mountains, and shares her thinking with us several times a year.
Good morning, and Happy New Year. Before I actually get started with the title with my service today, which is Seeking Joy and Finding Inspiration, I want to first acknowledge that my disappointment that we're not actually meeting in person. I had really been looking very much forward to that and anticipating seeing you, giving you hugs, that kind of thing. And yet, I have to say on the other side of the coin, I really appreciate the work of the reopening committee. They have been very vigilant in keeping track of the COVID rate, especially this latest variant. And when it became evident that that rate was climbing and was definitely going to surpass the limit that we had set, that they determined that it was not safe for us to begin meeting quite yet. So I'm disappointed, but I appreciate the work and the idea that we will be safe, and I know that it will happen, that we will get back together, and hopefully very, very soon. I hope that each of you have been having a very wonderful holiday, celebrating with family and friends, spending time in this amazingly beautiful weather here in Atlanta that we've had. Maybe you've been, like me, playing with your four-legged family members, or some of you taking peaceful walks, or just relaxing. But I've had the greatest gift of this season in being able to gather for the first time in a couple of years with my family of choice here in the metro area, and to celebrate that, number one, we made it all of us made it through 2021, and to also be reminded of the good fortune that I have and that we have to have maintained and nurtured such close friendships over many decades. But as the new year has been speeding toward me, and I do mean speeding, and 2020 I thought was never going to end, and yet 2021 has actually felt like it has just flown by. But I have been thinking about the gratitude that I feel for the life that I am able to live each day. There's so much joy in every day when I just open myself to see and to feel it. I admit that I have been wearing pandemic colored glasses for most of the past 2 years, and that has dimmed my vision so that my focus has been more on the negative, and that I haven't really acknowledged much of the good that there has been. But the holiday season for this year in particular, that I didn't feel it last year, but this year, this holiday season of Hanukkah, and then Solstice, and then Christmas and Kwanzaa, these celebrations of hope and expectation and celebration, rebirth, that these things have broadened and sharpened my focus to seeing more of the positives that are happening. I can't really say that I think that it balances out the negative that is happening around in the world, but it does help put in perspective what I see as the reality of existence. I don't believe in predestination. I know that I can't control the world, and in fact, I can't even control most of what happens to me. But what I can control is how I respond to it. I love the quote that life is 10% what happens, excuse me, 10% what happens to you, and 90% how you react to it. I think it's interesting that that quote came from, not from an existentialist writer, but from Charles Swindoll, who was an evangelical Christian minister. But I am determined to move into the new year with a sense of seeking joy and finding inspiration. I want to bring this season of love and hope full bore into 2022. I don't personally like to make New Year's resolutions because I generally find that my personal pattern is that if I don't meet or keep them, that I begin to beat myself up, for it. So it's better just not to make them to start with. But it doesn't stop me from thinking about the things that I would like to see come about in the coming year. But I want to tell you that right here and right now, that I am feeling full of energy to tell you of my determination to listen to this inevitable negative news and being aware of the negativity, things that are happening around me, but to have a calmer heart and a stronger determination to do my part, whether it is something like to ease someone's suffering or to simply brighten someone's day. I have an example of that I want to share with you, of how a simple act of kindness can multiply in unexpected ways. I'm going to read the first part of this story that I found read on the internet the other day. Jessica Kitchell was feeling isolated and emotional as she recovered at her Georgia home after delivering her baby through a cesarean section. Her Google Nest doorbell camera alerted that there was a new video from a visitor, and she was floored as she clicked on it and began watching the 26-second clip. As a UPS driver delivered her package of baby formula, he earnestly looked into the camera. "If this is It's a Boy House, I hope all is going well with your newborn. I had a child at around the same time you guys did, and I just hope everything is going good. God bless and happy holidays." Jessica said, "I was just so blown away by the fact he took the time to stop and to say it." Now, what she did after she saw this video was she was so touched by this just spontaneous message of kindness that she put the video on her Instagram page and began to share it and talk about, how she was moved by it. And word got around, and UPS contacted her about it, and she asked and said that the local representative would contact her and let her know who the actual driver was. And when the representative did contact her and gave her his name, she asked if the representative would pass along her phone number and asked the driver if he would call her, which he did, and they had a conversation about their babies, and in fact they have actually become friends, according to the article in online. Now, what she did after that was she went back to her Instagram page and she posted about this young man and his fiance and their new baby. And she said, this is his target and his bye-bye baby registry. And if there's anything on the list that hadn't been taken care of already and you're so inclined, then perhaps you would fill that for them. And as it's turned out, many people who read her post have sent gifts to this family and from their registry. Most of them anonymous, and they've included little notes of, how much they were touched by this, seeing the video, and how much they hope that he and his family were well, and that type of gesture. So it's like this 26-second clip of this young man taking the time to look into the camera and to share his expression of hope and well-being for this family has expanded to a much larger community. And I'm going to be perhaps, I don't think I'm being naive, but I think that I'm being hopeful in saying that there are others that probably read this article or saw this Instagram post and have in turn gone out and done some act of kindness for someone, probably a stranger. That's what I like about how this system can work. It can keep moving and spreading. The joy that I've personally felt this holiday season, being at home with the loves of my life, Chansey, our two dogs, Chanley and Obie, her son, and our bird, Allie. I would imagine that those of you who have been on our Zoom conversations after the service on Sunday know who Allie is. And then have the opportunity to be with our longtime friends. This has really touched my heart. It's like I've had this space inside me that was dark, that I have really absorbed a lot of the darkness that I've seen and read about around the world and what's happening here in our own country, and that what I've been experiencing in this holiday season has been like a light that has shined into this space, and it has illuminated the good things that are also there. It didn't erase the fact that these other things had happened. They didn't just evaporate, but it did allow me to see and to feel the good things that are going on all around me every day. And that's something I think I had kind of closed my heart to somewhat. Every winter, if and when it actually occurs here in the Atlanta area, brings a cold and barren landscape. I find this time softened by the anticipation of what is to come, the warmth and the beauty of spring. I feel inspired by this transformation, both in the physical realm, but also in my spirit, as I work to throw off the darkness of these past 2 to 5 years and commit to seeking more joy and connection and creativity. I so miss the creativity that has been a very important and supportive part of my life in the past, but that I have let fall by the wayside. To commit to seeking harmony in my life, even as I acknowledge the sad and the ugly that still occurs. I feel inspired to temper my anger. Those of you who have listened to some of my services earlier in the year know about my anger, because it has been a very prominent part of how I have felt over the past couple of years because of so much of what has been transpiring. And but I'm going to strengthen my resolve to work for justice and equality. If you heard Kathy DeNobria speak this past Sunday, I feel inspired by what she was talking about, Mending Day, to mend that which I can in my physical, spiritual, and relational areas of my life, but also to acknowledge that which is beyond mending, those things that don't serve me any longer and which in fact hold me back. Those are hard to let go of, but that's part of this process, in recognizing those things and then being willing to let them go. That way I can enter this new year feeling much lighter load, and to start off 2020 and awakened to new possibilities, because when you let go of things, you open space that allows for new opportunities, new possibilities to come in to your life. One of the challenges that I have is that I need to allow time and space to connect with myself. Just in case you haven't noticed, I am an extrovert, and I totally enjoy spending time with people, mostly friends, but even strangers in the grocery store, maybe, or just wherever I happen to have an opportunity to connect spontaneously, with someone. I enjoy that sense of connection, that time when you just whatever it is that begins to form this connection, and then just see where it takes us. Sometimes the conversations are very short, and sometimes they can lead to some very unexpected longer conversations. But I really enjoy that sense of connectedness. But as much as I really enjoy this being together and connected with other people, sometimes what happens is that I am focused so much on looking out that I don't take as much time and spend as much energy on looking in, on connecting with myself. But I'm feeling inspired to set aside more specific time and to be open to that spontaneous opportunity to focus inward, to see and feel more deeply, and to allow myself to reflect, to awaken the dormant possibilities and the awareness that I have inside. I know that I can facilitate this process in certain ways by being outside in nature, enjoying the plants and the birds, which I dearly love, reading more, and particularly more poetry. Franklin Abbott spoke a couple of weeks ago, and I find his poetry to be so beautiful. It is so simple, yet at the same time so deep and insightful. Others like Rumi as one of the older poets that I love, and then Mary Oliver. But moving into the more modern or more current are people like Amanda Gorman, who is the American Young Poet Laureate, and who spoke at Biden's inauguration. I mean, her words are just so beautiful, and it's so wonderful to see such a young person with so much feeling and insight. And I love to listen to music. I want to take more time to listen to music. Sometimes I might go for several days now without listening to music, and I realize how much I miss that, because music is something that really touches my soul. I can, hear a piece of music and just be taken, to another place where I really think about and feel the emotion that comes up, from that music. Also, am inspired to spend more time meditating, to finding that quiet time, that quiet space, and just allowing myself to be there and to focus inward and see what comes up. I do believe that meaningful inspiration results in action. Action means to actualize. So what good is inspiration if it remains just a moral construct or words on a piece of paper? So, my plan for 2022 is to seek joy and find inspiration. These will not be passive, but active plans if I follow that inspiration to its best ending. Much of that will be my own personal journey, but I want you to know that just for transparency and preparation, that I intend to take you along on some of my inspirational journeys. And I definitely look forward to the resulting joy that hopefully we will all feel from that. So, once again, Happy New Year. I hope that you are having a wonderful holiday and that the new year will be ushering in much goodness for you and those that you love. So please stay careful, stay safe, and open yourself to joy. Bye.
Thank you so much, Marsha, for your inspiring words, as always. We hope that you will join us on Zoom immediately following today's broadcast as we have our meet and greet, where we will discuss what Marsha had to share with us this morning, as well as sharing personal joys, sorrows, and concerns, and also community announcements. You can find the link to the Zoom meeting in the chat section of today's broadcast. Next week, we will be welcoming back to our congregation the Reverend Chris Glotzer. This and his talk, "This is a Good Time to be an Existentialist." We had certainly hoped to be back in person with this service today, with this celebration of life, but unfortunately, as we have all come to learn, the virus is the thing that is guiding us and telling us what we need to do and not do, and at this point we will be continuing with these online celebrations of life at least through the end of January, but just as soon as we're able to safely gather again, we will. Until next week, or until we see you again, please have a wonderful rest of your day today, a wonderful rest of your weekend and the coming week ahead, and Happy New Year to one and all. Bye-bye.